that. Joining me right now is Marc Short, former chief of staff to then Vice President Mike Pence. It's good to see you.
Kate, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Seeing conspiracy theories take off after a major event is not new, sadly enough, and you have been around and in politics long enough that you've seen it, and you've seen it very close up and firsthand. Why does it? You can't make sense of a crazy conspiracy theory, right? No one should try to rationalize irrational, but why does it? What is it about today?
I think it's a couple things, Kate. I think there's a lot of distrust for the media, to be honest with you. But I think there's also now people get their news from so many different sources. It's not like it used to be where there's a handful of sources. You get so much information on your phone that there's going to be a proliferation of it. And so it's just easily accessible.
Sadly enough. After what happened over the weekend, Republicans and Democrats are definitely blaming each other for kind of laying out and pushing, fomenting the rhetoric that creates the environment for this type of political violence. Republicans, the White House very clearly blaming Democrats, Democrats very clearly pushing back. Let me play just an example.
Yeah.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media.
This so-called White House press secretary wants to lecture America and lecture us about civility. Get lost. Clean up your own house before you have anything to say to us.
A quick reminder, you worked for Mike Pence when the rhetoric got to the point where people were calling for him to be hanged. So it's not like you don't know what heated political rhetoric looks like. But does anything cut through this noise?
Look, Kate, I think the reality is that our politics have become so coarse today that all of us in the public sphere need to do a better job. We all need to do a better job of toning it down. And we've lost a sort of a sense of community where we view our partisan opponents as the enemy. And that's dangerous. I do think, though, when you've seen a series of events happen, whether or not it was 3 assassination attempts on Donald Trump in 2 years, Brett Kavanaugh, Steve Scalise, Charlie Kirk, or even, frankly, some of the more recent school shootings when there were attacks on a Christian school in Tennessee or in Catholic school in Minnesota by trans people. I think the reality is that there is a political violence problem on the left. And I think that right now many on the left are saying, yes, but. Yes, but Donald Trump's mean. Yes, but Donald Trump tweeted wrong. Again, both sides, all sides need to clean this up. But I think right now there's not a sense from the Democrats of taking ownership of saying we need to clean this up in this moment, not clean it up on their side.
Weird transition, but let's transition to talk about some of the issues, if you will. Then there's the economy and the major issues of the midterm elections. Last week, there was a poll that came out. Since it came out, I wanted to ask you about it. It's a Fox News poll that found that for the first time since 2010, voters favor Democrats over Republicans on economic issues. You saw that, and what's your take on that? I mean, something Democrats are doing right or something Republicans are doing wrong?
Well, I think it's got to be alarming when you see markets hitting all-time highs. But the reality is that for the average American, they continue to see prices go up.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of Republicans, there's been a big shift in what our economic policies are. While traditionally continue to advance tax relief, you've had basically Republicans embracing state-owned enterprises again and again and again, most recently with Spirit Airlines. You've had Republicans basically embracing credit card caps, fees on credit cards. You basically had Republicans tell people who can buy a house and who can't. These are policies of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And so if Republicans are basically going to offer the same thing as Democrats, then I think you're going to lose your advantage over Democrats on economic policy.
Real quick, then the redistricting battle now takes a new turn. You've got Florida, you've got Ron DeSantis. He's pushing a map. They're hoping to win advantage in 4 seats. When Virginia approved its redistricting plan, you called it not a good look for Democrats in the Commonwealth, but also a big loss for Republicans and hurts their midterm chances. What does Florida offer into this war?
Look, I think that the campaign in Virginia was incredibly disingenuous by the Governor Spanberger, who said this was not going to be something she would do when she ran just 6 months before this. And the promise that it would only be temporary, none of those people that if they get elected Democrats are going to resign in 2030 when there's a new census. but Kate, I think I was on your show when they started this in Texas, and I said that this was best going to be a wash for Republicans. I think it's a miscalculation because Yeah, there are a lot of districts along the border where Hispanics are overwhelmed of the border security during the Biden years who voted for Trump. That doesn't mean they're lifelong Republicans. So not all 4 of those seats are going to go for Republicans. And now you've started this race to the bottom where you now have the White House going against Republican senators in Indiana because they didn't support redistricting. And so at best, this is going to be a wash for Republicans, and it's going to cost a ton of money.
Ton of money. Like tons and tons of money, and they're going to be back at
in many cases, money spent against Republicans, like in Indiana.
How's it feel to be a Republican right now, Marc Short?
Well, I'm still a conservative, Kate.
Yes, you are. What is the definition of that? That's for another
The definition's still the same.
It's good to see you.
Thanks.
John.